Hey Sainers, welcome back to the Saints TV YouTube channel. Welcome to the Round 8 match preview. We've got North Melbourne on Sunday, 4:40, back in our favourite twilight slot on Sunday in Melbourne at Marvel. So North, they got done by 90 points last week. Unfortunately, we went down to Port Adelaide by 7 points in a fairly frustrating game, not at our best by any means. And this week's been interesting. We lost Nick Walsh. We replaced him pretty quickly. And we're looking to bounce back strongly. So Max King, people have talked about whether he's a chance this Sunday, but I think it's more likely he'll play against Adelaide the following week. Jack Billings could put his hand up this week. Definitely. He's played at Sandy and a scratch match last week, I believe. So he's in good condition to get a gig. I think there's players like, Windy, Bytel, Filippo that, could either be a sub or be omitted for the likes of someone like Jack Billings, who's very experienced and generally has a pretty good record against North Melbourne in previous games. So, we don't want to be going into this game without anything but our strongest team. Obviously, North Melbourne are, the first bottom 4 team that we've played all season. We played them twice. We play Hawthorn twice. And we've got Hawthorn in a couple of weeks' time as well. So our percentage is already really good, but we want to see, the same ruthlessness that we saw with Melbourne last week, where they just put North to the sword, and then you saw Carlton do that to West Coast in Perth. So North Melbourne are going to want to bounce back. They play better at Marvel, but, obviously we play pretty well at Marvel, where, the 4 wins from 5 games there this year. They've got some pretty decent players. Obviously, Sheasel is a standout. He had 30 again last week. Then you've got the forwards that will look to get off the chain, and that's Zohar and Larkey. But again, last week, we only conceded the 83 points, and most teams win in that situation. We've just not been able to kick a score last week, and I think that's just, having Mitch Owens and these sort of guys, they're going to have those down games, and you don't have that Max King outlet. Tim Membry's obviously still finding his feet, so we've done very well to get to that 5 and 2 points. And this week we just want to see a really solid response. And unfortunately, I'm not going to be there. It's a bit sad to say, but I'll be watching it from Sydney. I'll be up there for a wedding, so I'll make time on the Sunday. And then obviously do the live review in that game. But I think, in our both our losses, we've it was good to see we bounced back from the Collingwood loss. We beat Carlton, performed well. We're gonna have to do that again. And I think it's just another element knowing that we're the red hot favourites coming in against a team that's underdone, bottom 4, and I think they got a bunch of injuries last week as well. Like Coleman Jones went down. They're struggling big time in that sort of department. They've lost some key players. They're low on confidence. But we don't want to be going into this game with any sort of complacency, because I felt like last week we did. Even in the first quarter, we were 5 goals to 2 up. I thought we just aren't playing the way we've played. Even just some handballs were a metre short. Players were just moving a bit too relaxed, not really pointing and being really driven like they have been in the previous games. So I think last week, although we did lose, was a really good learning curve for the boys. I think they probably took a lot out of that. And, any loss you get along the way, you want to take something from. And I think we can do that. And it's good to see the response from the supporter base is that, we've been relatively positive all week. Again, despite not playing our best last week, there were chances to win the game. We hit the front on a couple of occasions in the last quarter last week. So it wasn't like Port Adelaide from go to woe with a better team and they won and we were way off it. It ebbed and flowed. The winning margin was 7 points. The biggest margin of the game was 20 odd points, and that was us pretty early in the game. So on the surface, it probably looks worse than what it was, but when you watch the game, and I watched it a couple of times, we played a bit better than what I thought on the night. I was pretty harsh on the night, but I think there were still, a lot of elements there that worked, and it was more execution-based stuff, and a few, dodgy mistakes, Battle and Wilkie, obviously, that Ross mentioned in the presser, that cost us, big time. So I think this week, we probably don't have to be the tidiest, but I think just in terms of that intensity, we want to have that back. And we want to just, have a good, solid 4-quarter performance against a North Melbourne side that, they will surprise teams this year because they've got some talent. Like when I look, they've got some decent talent. And they've got a good coach, Clarko. Don't take them lightly, Sainers. Let's go into this and we haven't had that ruthless streak as a part of the footy club for a while. In 04, 05, 08, 9, 10, anytime a St Kilda side played against a bottom 4 team, we took care of them. We took care of them comfortably. There wasn't any upsets. Maybe the odd upset. Every team goes through that. But most of the time you'd see it was a 50 to 60 point win. No questions asked. We got the job done, got a percentage booster and moved on to bigger fish. And I want us to treat this game with the respect that it deserves. But at the same time, don't take it easy. Put the foot to the floor and let's get a big win, because at the end of the year, these sort of percentage games, and we've had a tough draw over the last couple of years. When you get games against multiple games, double ups against bottom 4 teams, I think you really need to make the most of them, because that's what keeps you in the top 4, top 8, is making sure you win the games you should, and then you pinch a couple of games that you shouldn't, and then before you know it, you're in the top 5, top 6, and there's a chance there for top 4 even. So I think for us to get this over the line, go 6-2, get Max King and Anthony Caminiti back, and then fly to Adelaide with a bit of confidence is going to be critical. If we don't perform well in this game and we win, I think there'll still be some more questions. But Ross Lyon's always been about banking the points early, getting the wins regardless of form, and then building form as you go, and that's fine as well. So for me, I'm just going to be looking at that intensity. I don't want us to, I'm a good gauge on that. First 5 minutes last week, I knew we were down, and score didn't reflect that, but I just kind of felt like the scoreboard wasn't really a true reflection of the way the game was. And I'll get an indicator pretty early in this game on how we're going. If we start slow, if we let North get the jump, we'll know all those things pretty early in the game. So I think in terms of like ins and outs, I don't think it'd be too different. I think JB might be a chance. I think Filippo looked a bit tired last week, but we got a 9-day break. So we know that Ross doesn't really like making wholesale changes. Ben Patton will play. I just think as Jimmy Webster's not back yet, but when he is, I think he'll be straight back in. And then obviously Max King a week away. But hey, if we get a Max King surprise later tonight, I'll be very happy about that, So if I just see that M King in, that'd be very, very good, and a big surprise for the game on Sunday. So for me, again, we're 5-2. I'm not stressing too much. I'm pretty comfortable that the football that we've showed this year, even last week, it should get the job done against North. But I want us to just refine it a little bit. We want to find some form, because in the next couple of weeks, we've got some big games, away to Adelaide, away to GWS. And, at Marvel, you'd back us in both those games, but we're travelling. So we need to make sure that we bank this win, go 6-2. That's a bit of a buffer there. And we can give it our all in the next couple of games. So, yeah, feeling good. I'm curious to hear your thoughts, Sainers. How are you feeling going into the North Melbourne game? Are you nervous because we're playing North and everyone's beaten them and... knowing us, we might drop this game? Or are you feeling comfortable that the boys will respond after the loss to Port Adelaide and Ross will get them ready to go for a big win? Because that's the mindset I have is I trust the boys. I did a video yesterday talking about the improvements and what stood out to me this year in the first 7 weeks. And, one of them, I didn't mention it, but, it was basically, goes without saying, but the trust. I trust the boys to just rock up and give it their all. And if they do that on Sunday, I'm pretty comfortable that we'll get a win. Whatever the margin is, I don't know. But I'll, right now at this early stage of the year with players to come back, I'll just take the 4 points and move on. Thank you very much. So I'll wrap it up there, Sainers. Thank you very much for watching. Again, I'm not going to be there, which is devastating on Sunday, but I'll be giving away 2 Medallion Club tickets, 7 p.m. tomorrow. I'm picking 2 winners. So make sure you subscribe to enter the competition and you follow us on Instagram at SaintsTVPod. There's a post there. You tag your footy buddy and you've entered. So make sure you do that if you want to have a chance of winning 2 Medallion Club tickets for Sunday's game. And I'll be back after the game for my live review from Sydney, somewhere in Sydney. So stay tuned for that. But anyway, guys, take care of yourselves. Enjoy the rest of your week. And as always, go you mighty Sainers. See you guys.